We welcome you to the Priscilla R. Tyson Cultural Arts Center for our Conversations and Coffee on this 16th day of the month of October, 2025. I'm Ellen O'Shaughnessy, coordinator of the program. We're delighted to host our guest artist, Joe Bellomy, who's an amazing painter in acrylics, water, oil. Welcome, Joe. Hey, stand up there. Let's see. Yay.
Hello.
Wonderful.
Thanks for coming.
Oh, you get to sit back down again when I tell your story. Joe shares that art and music have always been a part of his family. He says his mother, uncle, and cousin were all artists in their own ways. His sons also share what he calls a creative impulse. So you say, Joe, art runs in the family. Aha. Though art and music were always a part of your surroundings, you share that they were never considered viable career paths. And in your career paths have included construction, painting. It's a way that you lived your life to be able to support your art. For many years, your focus was on work and survival with limited exposure to the professional art world. Nevertheless, Joe's been painting since he was 25 years old and drawing for as long as he can remember. His influences range from the classical masters to illustrators such as Frank Frazetta, artists known for fantasy and science fiction. Joe says he explored style freely, but many times he shares that he feels like a painting is just a series of mistakes that he's trying to correct. Though Joe says he has limited formal instruction, he's gone through the paces of studying color, anatomy, composition. This year, Joe shares he has tried his hand at stone sculpture here at the Culture Arts Center. And your professor, your teacher, instructor joined us today, huh? And when Joe's not painting, he's working on writing and music and tends to cycle through the different areas routinely and finds it all very interesting and life giving. Joe's had a commissioned work for the Hyatt downtown, along with portraits, storyboards for local short films, art fairs, and for private clients. At present, Joe shares he's enjoying the community here at the Cultural Arts Center and working on expanding his technical skills and enjoying just playing around with it all. Joe, we so look forward to your sharing with us your magnificent art. I've enjoyed seeing the progression of this gorgeous painting, and I wanted to be sure you brought it here to share. So thanks for carrying it and bringing it here, as I've seen you in class week to week working on it. So great to share your gifts and being with us for conversations and coffee. Thank you. Take it away.
And so I'll just go through these photos here. Watercolors. Um, Not much to say. I like to play around. This is just playing around with color and composition. This is very small, like probably 3 by 7. This is a regular size. These are imaginary landscapes. I do a lot of imaginary landscapes because I spend a lot of times in the woods, running around by the river. That is a plein air watercolor painting that was done outside at Atrium Park. This one here.
Joe, talk out to us. We want to hear.
Right.
Yes.
That's that small one I just told you about. This is the neighbor's apple tree in the alleyway. All the apples fall into the alley. and get smashed into applesauce by the traffic. I did a series of nighttime paintings in the neighborhood, Harrisonville. Um, so I just walk around, take photographs, and then I thought I'd do a series, which I'm not very good at series. I get 4 or 5 into it, and then I want to do something else, pretty much. This is watercolor. Another one for the neighborhood. How big is that? These are 16 by 20, something like 16 by 20, something like that. I think it's as big as this here,
Oh,
maybe
good.
slightly larger. Same thing. This is a walk down by the river. River. This is the river Styx. This is probably old, early watercolor. I started a series of 2 houses and a boat just to try a series. That's one of them. I think I got maybe 4 paintings into that, and then I lost interest. This is oil painting.
Why do you think you lose interest in it?
Um, every paintings is kind of an experiment. You know, either I'm trying a new technique or maybe a different color arrangement. Subject matter is sometimes secondary. I think I enjoy the process more than the finished work. You know, um,
Tell us about that, what you mean by that. You enjoy it, the process more than the finished work.
I enjoy the activity of painting. And then I do enjoy looking at them afterwards, but my interest is mainly in the action and the actual movement
And what's
of painting.
happening in that activity for you?
For instance, this and this start out with just like a wash, underpainting wash, and then like you see images in clouds. Then I just start to paint what I see in that spontaneous wash. So it's like developing a photograph, and it surprises me too. So I can work from a photograph, like this middle painting is from a photograph from an old National Geographic
Which
magazine,
one is that?
the middle one
The
here.
middle one.
And that's fine, working from a photograph. But when you just make something up, it's a little more exciting because it's kind of making itself, and you don't know where it's going to end up, so it's kind of an exploration.
So you weren't there creating from that, you created it yourself. This was your image within you.
Yeah.
These 2 houses and the boat and
The majority of stuff I make is just from imagination. But I have done studies. I've gone out and painted in the woods, and so I have a good stock of images in my head. Again, imaginary landscape. That's oil.
Or
They all have their they all have their good points and bad points.
I just said, which do you prefer? Which medium?
Right now I'm doing mostly acrylic because I'm in class, so you don't have the odor and the mess dries very quickly. Nowadays, acrylic paint seems almost as good as oil as far as colors and the depth of the paint. They're still harder to blend, and they don't have the depth of oil paint or the transparency apparently. But you don't have to wait a week for it to dry before you can paint over it. So I'll probably go back to oils here pretty soon. This is an old oil painting. This is like one of my very early oil paintings when I just first started. What is going on? You tell me.
Floating person over a landscape.
A little.
It's titled "Across the Rainbow Sea," and that's like a seascape in the back with all the different colors. What does it mean? I'm not sure. It's kind of a dream. you know, or the feeling of floating in the universe, like you sometimes get when you're laying on the ground looking at the sky.
Is that what gave you the ideal for the painting? What was the inspiration?
I had written a children's book and illustrated, and the title was Across the Rainbow Sea. And I just liked the title, I think. So that painting may have just come out of that title. Also, it was my oldest son and I published like a little zine that had fiction stories and illustrations in it. And we used this type of figure for the logo. It was called the Floating Liars Club. So the floating figure was part of that.
And is that a dolphin in the background?
Could be a dolphin or some other type of fish, but it looks like a dolphin. Yeah, I think uh, I think my mom had made us clay sculpture of like a cherub or a baby riding a dolphin. So that image kind of always stuck in my head.
How much did your writing affect or inspire your art?
Right, probably quite a bit, and also reading, lots of reading, a lot of metaphysics, a lot of religious stuff. Um, so yeah, it affects it quite a bit. I haven't written about the art though particularly, so mostly just short stories, and I just finished up a novel that needs to be rewritten.
You just finished up writing novels?
Yeah, just a couple months ago, first draft. And that was the first. I had started it years ago, and then I became ill and I couldn't really move around, so I picked it back up, and over the last couple of years I finished it up. So hopefully in the next few months that'll get completed.
Title.
Uh it's called The Weavers of Twixenland. It's a fantasy novel. So magic and all that kind of stuff. But I started when I was 25, so at the time they say write what you know, and it's like I don't know jack, so I'll just make something up.
Not knowing Jack, you threw it to the light, or you inspired by some of those writings?
Well, the metaphysics stuff probably, and the spiritual stuff and meditation, Zen Buddhism, all that kind of thing. Trying to figure out your place in the universe, or how things work together. Work.
Same question. Do oil paintings last? And loud there, Inga. Do oil paintings last longer or better than
I don't think so at this point. I'm imagining that acrylics might last longer because they're plastic. Um, Oils can not fade so much, but yellow over time.
Yeah, art acrylics is a lot better product and it's easier to work with it if you learn to work with it quickly.
Yeah, if you're fast, and that's a good point. There are dryers that you can add to the paint to make it a little more like oils. Um, but oils, if they're not completely dry, as soon as you try to go over them, the paint will start to mix together. But oils do have a quality that of depth, and transparency that you can still get with acrylics. This here is acrylic. And when I started this, I wanted to experiment with glazing or layering color over color. Um, and the effect is pretty good. I think it looks pretty close to oils. It's a little brighter than oil. The middle one is oil. This is oil, so it has a little more depth to it. Um, but acrylics are fast and they're clean.
What's the story of the first painting there?
This one,
Uh-huh.
this one here, there's little figures here. And basically they're trying to figure out what's going on.
Ah.
So so the waves turn into leaves, the leaves turn into waves, and it just goes around in a circle.
Related to what you just said about your place in the universe.
Pretty much that's it, but obviously they're confused. Uh Gosh, I don't know. I think it was perspective, maybe putting things in perspective. Also, the idea that we're very small in the universe and we tend to surround ourselves with ourselves. So a lot of work, I'll have a tiny little figure in a giant landscape. I thought in this one I'd put a little tiny frogman in here, but I think I like it without the human beings.
Side there we can see better. Yeah. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Wow.
Work.
Lift it up to see the bottom and everything.
Thank you.
That better?
Yes, yeah, much better. It's
Again, kind of a metaphysical. Don't know what it means. It's a blue cat, a tree, and a figure. That's basically it. Maybe some planets. That's a little red tugboat. And basically that's a reminder to me to just keep chugging along. You might not know where you're going, but you just keep working on it. I make a lot of paintings like that are just reminders to myself.
Fire. Yeah.
It could be. Could be, yeah.
What word? Give that the oil paint there.
That's oil paint here. Yeah, it's a lot more buttery effect. It started off as like a 9/11 painting with the two towers back here. But after 9/11, I kind of, because they're not there anymore, I guess it kind of turned into this. So I don't know if that has meaning or maybe it's just moving on from that. Could be umpire. Keeps going though. Works. Very simple oil painting. Sometimes I'll go through periods where I just try to paint a lot of pictures real fast. So that's like the scene out my back door or something. Something like that is 15, 20 minutes maybe. Yeah, it's basically a sketch. These were done on my iPad, so these are digital paintings. I spent a little time messing around with that, which is they're good for working out compositions. I like a real painting, but I mean they're fun. They're clean. There's no cleanup. You could take it with you anywhere. But ultimately, you just print it out, and I prefer a texture or an actual object. But I did spend some time doing these digital things.
for a moment with that impressionistic look. That's so beautiful. One to the left. How'd you do that?
With on an iPad with the digital pencil, so it's still drawn, but it's drawn on an iPad on a computer. But it's still like pencil work, and paintbrushes, just digital. The colors are great, but again, my original intent was to do these as studies, compositional studies, and then to actually make paintings out of them later on, which I may still do.
That other ones, those other two, are they oil paint?
All of these are digital. I think all the next ones are digital pieces.
On the upper right, what their title of the one?
This one here, it seems to me I was thinking that everything was on fire, and these people were kind of living in their ivory tower. You can pass these around. There's some watercolors just to look at. So this this figure's kind of angry. Everybody else is kind of just watching things burn, I guess. But I think that's what I was thinking at the time. This is a digital drawing, just an illustration, probably some Zen. It's like a Zen painting. These people, everybody's angry. We all got our little issues and problems. And this guy's kind of staying connected to the world, the real world, I guess. Yeah, that was kind of the intention. That's kind of nice. I mean, you start with a black screen and then just
Repeat Nancy's comment there. It looks
she
like.
said it looks like a woodcut,
Uh-huh.
and it does have that effect. Again, it's digital, so it's where do you go with it? You
And
print
it's
it out.
a meditative group on
No,
Zen or
this guy is meditative, but all of these guys are kind of angry. They all have some kind of issue going on. He's just trying to stay connected to the ground, to the actual ground of the world.
Your last painting, you also had an angry person. Is that because you're working with digital stuff, or is the bohemiatic days?
repeat that, Joe.
No, it's just
Repeat what she said.
she said the last painting I had also had angry people, but sometimes, if you walk around the world, there's a lot of angry people out there, and I find it kind of confusing. We do all have issues, but we also live on a planet that's kind of seems alien a lot of times. If you look at an octopus or something, it's like this place is weird, And I think people tend to get, everybody does, we get involved with our own thing and we forget to just look around, So I think a lot of my artwork is just that, just look outside yourself a bit, Yeah.
You saying you get bored uh, with a series or with a paint?
With the series. I get a little bored with the series, yeah. Really? Well, I tend to. It seems like with a series, I wanna stick with the same style and paint the same way, like the watercolors of the neighborhoods. I think I did about 18 of those, and then after a while, I just want to splash paint on a canvas or just muck it up. I mean, sometimes I just paint like muddy, ugly, because you know. Uh, I don't usually paint angry. Uh, uh, I think I got through my anger years and years and years ago.
So, wait, how many series are we getting?
I've only tried to do maybe 3 different series. Um, but like I said, I just, I don't know. I just tend to, after 4 or 5 of them, I tend to want to just make a mess or something, Um, also, I painted, if I paint in a certain style, like the next 2 or 3, I feel like I'm getting stuck in that style. I had done a very detailed painting for a commission. And then immediately after that, I did this one. And this is a pretty tight painting for me. I usually paint looser, but then I feel like I'm getting stuck in this particular groove. And then I just want to do something else,
Tell us about that one. Like, I don't know if she's. First, I thought she was in bathtub, but now I think she's a music box.
It started off as Pandora's box. And the last thing in Pandora's box is hope. And then also with the landscape in the back, it's kind of related for me. For me, the natural world is very grounding. So I spend a lot of time, out in the woods, in the water, climbing rocks. Um,
You say spend a lot of time climbing rocks?
I rock climb and kayak and all that kind of stuff too.
Oh,
So it keeps me grounded because my imagination goes a little wackadoodle sometimes.
That, that stuff that's in the play, is that on me if I play?
These are alabaster stone, so they're hand carved with a hammer and a chisel, and you can pass that around too. I just started doing that this year here. It's different. It's taken me a while to get a three-dimensional view because I tend to want to draw, even like if it's stone, I want to draw something into it. Um, that's been a lot of fun. It's a kind of difficult carving with a chisel.
I know you were saying when you painted with oil and the feeling of it all. What's the feeling with doing the stone? I've never done it.
Yeah, the same thing. You can also take out a lot of aggression on a stone. This was a pretty good big block of stone, so it required a lot of hard hammer and chisel work. And I've done a lot of construction and physical work, so painting's a little more relaxing, but the stone sculpture is, it's a little more like the hard physical work, pounding the hammer and stuff. So I enjoy physical stuff. I think there's another one of these. Same kind of thing. Digital drawing. These are blockheads going to this blockhead city, looking at the blockhead stone, I guess. Make your own interpretation of that. That's been a few years ago when I was doing some storyboards for some local filmmakers, and I was making so many quick drawings that the iPad just became much more efficient than actually trying to do stuff on paper and erasing and all that kind of stuff. So on the iPad, I could do quick storyboard stuff, and then just experimenting and playing around with the iPad. It's okay. It's not bad. It doesn't have the feeling of a pencil on a paper. And a lot of my enjoyment from making art is the actual tactile feeling of a painting or drawing. Even the sound of a pencil on a paper, I find really enjoyable.
Third floor conspiracy.
Uh, it could be, yeah. Yeah, it could be. It's kind of a family of blockheads at the city. Sometimes I feel that way in the city. It's like it's so removed from organic forms like trees and grass, and I wonder, why do human beings make things in geometrical patterns? Since we're not geometrical, pretty much most of nature isn't. I thought I'd make some cartoons that I could print on cups, maybe, and coffee mugs or something. That reminds me of my cousin. We were little, going to the beach. He's looking out at the boys because I would swim way out, and he was much younger, and he'd just stand there with his bucket and watch. Kind of scary, kind of funny. Same thing. Cartoonish, digital drawings, and again, a day at the beach. I never print. I think I printed one cup, and I wasn't real happy with how it came out. So
Captions on some of these.
I tend not to title stuff. A lot of times I don't know, what I'm painting. Like this here started with just an impression. Eric watched that progress, and it was just, a very light burnt sienna wash. And then you start seeing things, and you just follow it where it leads, I guess. And then I'm surprised too. When I see it, it looks new. It doesn't feel like I made it. A lot of times it just feels like it's happening on its own. So when you make a painting and it surprises you, I think that's the best for me. Otherwise, you're basically just copying or tracing, that kind of thing. All of that's valuable too. I've done quite a few copies of.
So what you're saying is the joy of surprising yourself.
Yeah, it's a exploration, and it's kind of exploring your thoughts as you paint. Um, So yeah, I think that probably covers it. And it's like playing around, it really is like kindergarten finger painting. It's a reprieve from the world sometimes. It can be a little isolating though. You do tend to work alone. So this has been good for me, like painting in a class. I've never been around people painting. All my work's been done alone. Um, so that's very good. Even this right here, talking about art, I have never done this before, so that's very good. It's all new experiences. I think that's the last one. Yep. Thank you.
All right, boys.
Joe, I have a question about the big painting behind you. Not a question, a request. Can you kind of talk us through your process? Because I remember when it was horizontal and orange and white, and how you got from there to here. I think people would be interested. I don't know if you can put it into words, but go for it.
Okay, it started off as this canvas was gifted to me by a lady named Dorrance in a sculpture class because she didn't have room for it. It had a red underpainting on it. So the whole canvas was this color red.
Wow.
So I covered that up with this. That's another thing. I like to leave some stuff that's not finished or painted on so you can actually see how it started. So it starts off with this kind of wash that's a neutral color. And then I just kind of play around with the brush strokes and try to get some kind of flow or composition going. It started off horizontal, but when I was looking at it, I flipped it to the side, and I liked that it felt like you were more inside the painting than when it was horizontal. And then slowly I began to see lots of different things. First, like landscapes. A lot of people were seeing landscapes, which are generally what come out of those kind of paintings. But then I think I saw a fish in there somewhere. So I start with just pulling out shapes, and basically that's how it progresses. Um, at a certain point, I'll do like an overall sketch for the composition once I kind of get an idea of where it's going. Um, so after I got the the bottom kind of roughed in, I did a sketch with some of these fish shapes and forms just to see where they're positioned. And then it becomes, then it actually becomes, has a direction, then I kind of know which way I want to go. Um, and then I tend to focus on the pattern of lights and darks. So there's a concept called note hands, where you do a miniature drawing that is just black and white, so that you have just a pattern of black and whites. So I'll do that, um, and then I just start bringing out more forms as I see them. Like these whales, I didn't really see until just today, and basically these were accidents. They're like anything that's happening in here. If you look at this long enough, just like figures in clouds, you'll start to see something. Whatever comes to your mind. And then I just start slowly developing that. Um,
Oil painting.
this is acrylic. That's acrylic, yeah. I think acrylics I mean, it's hard to distinguish what's oil and acrylic nowadays. Acrylics have come a long way. Um, they're still harder to blend, that's for sure. But they do make mediums you can mix with them. And then I just keep working on it until until it feels okay, I guess, until it feels right. I guess we all kind of get to this, I don't know what to do next, or
I'm not sure I understand. Do you sketch and physically sketch it, or is it sketched in your mind, or
a painting like this, it's just free flow. I don't sketch it out until I have an idea of what the basic thing, and then I'll do a small thumbnail, just to get some kind of organization to it. And then I'll just use the thumbnail for the tone, the value studies, and then I'll work from that thumbnail. And then after that, I just see, once I start looking at stuff for a while, I start to see, like right here, this little splotch here. That kind of looks like that could be another fish. Yeah, and once I see something like that, I'll just start to pull it out. So like I said, it kind of starts making itself after it's almost like a trance. Uh, you just start to see things in the mix of tones and paints, and especially like the natural forms and the rocks. And then slowly I'll just start to pick them out and pull them out. Yeah, but I'm generally thinking about composition, how your eye flows through it. So what's the first thing for me? If I was looking at this, I'd probably go down here, and then I'd probably follow this fish around here, like this, and then I go like this, and then I go like this, and then up here, and then up here, and then this kind of makes you fall back down into here. So a lot of it is where your eye is traveling through the painting.
Oh, that was delightful. Thank you for taking us with you there. Oh,
Yeah, so that's kind of how I look at.
and the little fish there, noted.
Yeah, he popped up today. Yeah, this guy popped up today because this was looking very flat, and it was looking more like a landscape than underwater. So I thought I needed something to give it some perspective.
It does draw us there.
Yeah, and also, I mean, um, there are formulas to how to set up a composition, um, and there are certain places where your eye tend to go. Like your eyes tend to go in these corners when you look at a rectangle. So if you put things in those corners, and if they have a directional flow, then your eye will want to follow. Like these, your eye wants to go this direction. Um, so I think about that a lot when I'm painting, because it's kind of a journey through a painting, and then also the depth of a painting is also uh, has a visual effect where you focus in the distance, focus in the foreground. Um, so I try to think of that too, also the perspective of the distance, which has to do with mostly with the color, as these colors are darker and more defined, and then they get a little more vague. So your eye can actually focus backwards and forwards and through the picture.
How many years would you say about painting?
Since I was 25, so 40, 42. Yeah, it's been 3 years. Yeah, uh, 42. But most of that time I've been working. I retired about 3 or 4 years ago. So prior to that, everything was just on my off time or after work or something like that. But I always drew, and when I was young, I used to draw large pictures on the walls of my apartments. I don't think the landlords appreciated that very much, but I filled up a lot of walls, lots of trees, uh, but never really got into painting or color until after I got out of the military, and I had time to really just decide. I'd done a lot of different things trying to make a living, and I was never happy with any job because my brain is not there. And my brain is out the window. And I think when I was 27, I'm like, I'm just gonna paint. Let it all go to hell if it goes out. So I guess I'm in it for the long run at this point, Eric.
It's marvelous work. I'm just wondering about the portrait. Can you talk about that work a little bit?
Which is it?
The portrait. It's nice.
I've done some portraits. The ones I don't know. Portraits are sometimes vanity gets involved in portraiture, and people don't necessarily want to see like an accurate portrait. They want to see a pretty picture of themselves, or stylized. Um, and when I'm working from photographs or from life, I tend to be too detailed. When I'm working from imagination, I can kind of slop it around. But when I have a reference, I tend to want to copy the reference. I had taken a class here years and years ago for a couple months. I think with Tracy. He may still be here. Yeah, I took a few months because I was working. I ended up not being able to attend. But I was painting a portrait because he had a model in there. And I found myself, I did the face and it was very detailed. And then at a certain point, I decided, I was like, am I painting that? Or am I painting this person, or am I painting this painting? And I think at that point, I decided I'm painting the painting. The person is a reference for me, but the painting is the object I'm going to end up with. So then I decided that instead of trying to make the painting look exactly like this, I'm going to make a painting that I like to look at, basically.
Isn't that kind of the spirit of Monet was like that?
I I don't know.
Well, it was like what he
But
liked to
surely
look at
the impressionist.
was that impressionistic feeling, that soul felt feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember being in Giverny, walking across that bridge and looking and feeling with what he was saying. Let it be soul felt rather than so focused on the particulars.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think a painting does affect how you look at the world. If I paint in the morning and I go out for a walk or something, everything looks like a painting to me. It's like walking around in a painting. So I do think looking at art affects your perspective on how you look at the world that you're living in. Um,
and if you take in too many details, it's overwhelming.
yeah, it's very much overwhelming. I also think that making art is a way of organizing your mind, and how to reach some kind of understanding about what you're seeing or experiencing. Uh, like I said, I paint a lot of kind of symbolic paintings that are just reminders to myself to, kind of stay grounded, or don't smoke, or, just things like that, I guess. Uh,
Well, yeah, Nancy. I was just remembering they had told us in school about Leonardo da Vinci, how he made his really imaginative backgrounds was to hang up a sheet and throw mud at it, and then just to see those fantastic shapes forming some kind of landscapes with the
exactly.
imagination.
Yeah, there's a famous quote from him that says that advises artists to look at stains on the wall and bricks and dirt, and you'll see universes in those.
I also heard that Monet had a vision problem, his eye problem, so that everything blurred for him anyway.
I can understand that. I like to paint without my glasses quite a bit. Except when I got to stand back, I'll put my glasses on. Sometimes it's a little shocking when I put my glasses on and I'm like, oh my God. But I use a lot of the standard techniques that the masters use. I'll take a photograph of this and then I'll flip it backwards so I can see if the composition is right. In the old days, they would look in a mirror, to look at the compositions, see if it's even. Um, I've tried all the old techniques. I studied a lot of books. Most of what I know comes from reading and copying stuff.
You commented on your appreciation of the community of the Cultural Arts Center coming together.
Yeah, it's been very surprising and informative and edifying. And I made some friends, which is great. Most of my work through life has been, even during the remodeling and construction, I've been alone. Uh, and all the artwork and stuff has been alone. I played in a band for a while, so a little bit of community there. but generally, in the construction world, there's not a lot of people to talk to about Da Vinci or Van Gogh, you know? So it's very nice to be around other artists. Uh, yeah, lots of good input, lots of suggestions. I've actually learned a lot in watching other people work and how they approach stuff. Uh, it's been reassuring, you know, because when you're out there in the periphery, sometimes you think you're going nuts. You know, it's like, why am I doing this? You know, so I'm glad to see some other affected people or infected people. Infected. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you know, the Cultural Arts Center, this just kind of opens your mind to other styles and people and how they think. And I think it's a very good, program.
No, it's been great. My first introduction was I just came across a post for one of the grants, and it was like the grant was getting closed. It was like the last day uh, for grant, so I just put a bunch of stuff together and applied for a grant, and I ended up getting that. That was very helpful. And then since then, I figured, you know, I have time now. I'll use some of that grant money to come here. So I took some of the grant money and started the sculpture arts or the stone sculpture class. And then since then, I figure I'm going to hang out. You also have a big piano down there. I'd like to pound on at some point.
You're also a musician.
Yeah, I've been doing that quite a while too. I have all the diseases, the writing, you know, everything that makes you broke. Um, but it's very fulfilling. It's a good time.
Well, we were mentioning the community of the Cultural Arts Center. How many instructors do we have in here? Teachers. Brent, let's stand up here. Yeah.
Yeah, so you only pass around like one so do you plan on just having this come look at it or
Oh, you can, we can pass all these around.
My,
I don't mind.
Are you not an instructor, aren't you? Oh, you're just a.
These are new. I just started doing this year, so
your scope and have something in mind before you want to get into that?
same thing. You know, a lot of it is what you see in the color. Yes, sir.
So I was thinking about, like you said, we like to kind of bounce around. And I find that interesting because a lot of artists, they're kind of known for one thing. Like you think about Toronto, you got a certain thing you think about. One of my favorites, Giorgio Morandi, and when I think about Balo. On the other hand, Robert Rauschenberg, his intro did that in these a lot. I'm saying he kind of did a little bit of everything. You know, different styles. And then not only that, it's like I'm always surprised like when I hear about how he was involved in dance and or other stuff like that. Or when it kind of sounds like that more, yeah, I see right in that veins of doing different things. Like I'm kind of interested to hear about this writing that.
I'm not. I'm not. I'm not sure where that's the case. I'm very curious. I've always been very curious. I've done a lot of reading over the years. I like to try new things. You know, whether it's art stuff or exploring. I guess you know when I was a kid, the best time was just running through the woods and building tree houses and stuff. You know, very curious about all kinds of subjects. I like to learn. I guess is uh, part of it. So almost every piece of work, I feel like I'm learning something new. um, I have a tendency to, if I notice myself becoming habitual, I have a tendency to want to break my habits. Um, it's kind of weird sometimes if I notice that I put my right shoe on all the time, then I'll just change it because I find myself becoming habitual. And I think when you start to do things out of habit, then you ignore the what's going on in the present. You know, you just kind of operate on automatic. So I tend to try to identify and break habits when I get them, other than the good ones. Exercise and diet, I guess, are good habits. Yes, Mary.
I like to do arts too when I'm like bobbing anything off.
Yeah, it's meditative.
Repeat that for us so we can.
She said she likes to draw also, coloring and painting. Yeah, it's very nice. It's calms the mind.
Fine.
Yes.
I made a church out of clay.
A what? How to clay?
Church.
A church.
Only this tall.
Oh, very nice. I like drawing and painting architecture too. Most of them are just made up buildings and stuff like that. I haven't done any clay. That's kind of on the list though. Uh, I think I would like to take a clay thing here. Very nice. Yes.
How about plein air? Do you do that?
I've done quite a bit. I just take some watercolors and go tromp through the woods. And I don't tend to like. There are a couple of societies that do plein air, but they tend to go to like parks and just spaces where everybody goes, where it's manicured. I like to go out in the like down by the river and go under the bridge and go exploring and meet up with some homeless people, I guess. So I've done a bit of that, yeah. Mostly watercolors. Some of the ones you saw here were plein air.
And when you meet up with the homeless people, do they enjoy what you're doing in your art?
Eric and I met up with a homeless lady a few weeks ago, and we sat and talked for a couple hours. She had a whole organized perspective on what was going on in the world, and a lot of the things. I went over that conversation for like 2 weeks, because it was a very comprehensive, organized, strange view of the world where she had particular labels for everything. And eventually my mind was like, oh, okay, I understand what she's saying. But yeah, she was an interesting
We're
person.
organizing with students that I serve downtown. We're Bethlehem and Broad Street. We're going to do an art project with the homeless and working poor
Mhm.
in December. And that art project is going to be focused on woodwork. So
Yes.
everyone can take home with them home meaning
Home.
home, um, the wood that they're working with, as well as giving another piece to a Christmas tree in one of the downtown churches. So the involvement in art and the community that it calls us together with is a gift to our downtown students who are into all kinds of technological studies and law and nursing and
Art has a lot of functions other than just making a pretty picture. A lot of psychological functions, a lot of predictive functions, a lot of educational functions. It's almost like money. It has many many different uses. Yeah.
well, it's a true gift, and all of you are gift to us and to each other. With Joe Bellomy, we thank you.
Well, thanks for coming.
Visit this